To get started on Lesson 7, make sure you've downloaded the Lesson 7 project folder, and you can double-click on the 07 Start Photoshop document. Before we do anything, let's go ahead and go up to File and Save As, and let's call this 07 Working. Make sure you got your name on it as well. We'll say Save and continue on. The first thing we want to do is to drag on some guidelines that'll help us center up our type. If you don't see your rulers at the top and left edge of your document, you can go up to View, down to Rulers, and make sure this is checked on. You can see it up here. By the way, we also want to make sure we're measuring everything in inches. You can either right-click or control-click on any of the rulers, and from here you can select inches to make sure everything is done correctly. Let's click on this left ruler, the vertical ruler, and drag outward until it reaches the center of your document. You can see how it snaps right at 4.25 inches. And when you let go, there's our guideline. To add type to our design, let's make sure the pattern fill layer is selected. With this layer selected, when we add a new layer or add text to it, it's going to add it above and this layer but below our model. To add type, we can choose our type tool, and do make sure it's the horizontal type tool. We want to choose a font that's a serifed font, and the book recommends using Minion Pro, so M-I-N-I-O-N, there it is. If you don't have Minion Pro Regular on your computer, that's totally fine. I'm just going to choose this particular version of it. So we've got the regular version. The size of it needs to be 115 points, and we want to choose center alignment. Let's do make sure it says 115 up there. There we go. Now, to get more options than what you see up here at the top, we need to open our character panel. You can do this two ways. You can go to Window and open Character, and here it is right here. You can also click on this little icon and it opens and closes the character panel. To see all of the available options for this, do make sure it's pulled completely out, and we want to set our tracking to be about 50 points. This will space out our letters as we type with it. Next, we're going to add some point type right here in the center. Because we've got center alignment selected, all we've got to do is to click on that one, and whatever we type, so in all caps, we're going to type T-Y-P-E-C-A-S-T, and you can see how it lines up nicely inside of that area. For whatever reason, it didn't keep it on 115 points, so one more time, I'm going to type in 115 up here, boom, now it's nice and big and noticeable. I do like the way it looks, but it's not quite the font that we want. Let's choose a sans serif type. The book recommends using Myriad Pro, so going up here with your type still selected, M-Y-R, Myriad Pro, and we're going to use regular for it. Or let's change it over to semi-bold. Much better. Again, if you don't have this font, totally fine. Simply pick a font that's sans serifed without the little feet and is semi-bold and fits nicely up here at the top. Now, rather than filling this in with a solid color, we want to fill this in with a metal texture that they gave to us. Inside of the folder, the metal texture TIFF is what we want to use. So to bring it into Photoshop, we can go up to File and choose Place Embedded. Locate your Lesson 7 and choose Metal TIFF and say Place. And you can see how it's placed nicely inside of here. We want to move it up until it's right on top of the letters, and then we can choose the check to check it off. Notice in the Layers panel that the metal type should be on top of the typecast text. In order to get this metal texture to fill inside of the character or the text that's below it, with the metal layer selected, choose the options for the Layers panel and choose Create Clipping Mask. Notice that this gives a little arrow pointing down to here, and now you can see the metal fills in the letters that are on top of it. To add a little bit more contrast to this, let's add an inner shadow. First, go down to your layers and select the typecast layer. Then go down to the, go down to the little FX button and choose Inner Shadow. Remember to have Preview turned on so that you can see the effect taking place. Let's set the blending mode to be multiply and choose a color to be just solid black. The opacity of it can be about 48%. The angle of it can be 120 degrees. The distance of it can be 18 pixels or 18 points. The choke on it will be 0, and the size on it will be 16 pixels. Again, because preview is turned on, I can see that taking place in real time, and I can say OK to that. Now let's add some text in front of her mouth. In order to do this, choose the model layer, and let's open the Paths panel. Again, if you don't see the Paths panel, you can always go to Window and find it from here. Inside of this Paths panel, there's a pre-drawn path that's already made for us, and this is a vector path. With the vector path selected, you can see the blue line that appears in front of her mouth. Make sure you've got your Type tool selected, and with the Type tool selected, let's go back up and open up our Character panel. Inside this Character panel, we want to set our font to be Myriad Pro. We want the style of it to be regular. And again, if you don't have Myriad Pro, you can use any sans serif font that you've got on your computer system, as long as it's a regular font that fits. The size of it needs to be about 14 points. The tracking on it can be -10. The color of it can be kept at white, and make sure all caps is selected. Finally, as far as the paragraph alignment, make sure right align is selected. With your Type tool selected, you can hover over this line and you can see how it changes to this particular point. What we want to do is we want to start over here. So click on this edge and you can see how it adds some dummy text for us. Let's type in "What's new in 3D type?" We want to emphasize 3D type, so I'm going to highlight it. Let's go back over to our Character panel and let's make that bold. Let's return to our Layers panel. You can see now we've got a layer for text. Let's make a copy of this. With that layer selected, you can right-click on it and tell it to duplicate the layer. We'll say OK to this. Now, even though we've got a copy of it, it's directly on top of our original. So let's move it out of the way. With that copy layer selected, go to Edit, and let's do a free transform. We can then rotate this about 15 degrees. There's nothing special if it's off by a little bit. And we can also move it upwards and place it right here. And when you hit return, you can see how it moves it up. Now with our Type tool, let's highlight 3D type and delete it. And let's type in web type. Should add some question marks at the end of these. With that done, I'm going to commit to the transformation by clicking up here. Now see, I forgot my little question mark, so I'm going to put a question mark there as well too and commit to that. There we go. Let's do this one more time by selecting our 3D type layer and duplicating it. Another way you can duplicate is clicking up here and choosing duplicate layer. We'll say OK to this. And then we can also rotate it and move it down. So edit, free transform. Let's move it downward and then rotate it this way about -15 degrees. Again, if it's off by a little bit, that's okay. You can use your arrow keys to nudge things down, but when you hit return or the check mark, that's when your type is going to appear. On this line, let's get rid of 3D and let's replace it with type effects. And again, when you're done, click the checkbox to lock it in. Now, in addition to typing along a path, you can also warp and manipulate your type and the way it kind of flows within its own text path. To do this, I'm going to zoom in by hitting Command and the plus sign until I can bring up my text a little bit better. And let's select that 3D type layer one more time. So this is the one we want to work on. With that layer selected, we can go up to the Type drop-down menu and choose Warp Text. Again, depending on the style that you choose, we're going to choose the wave style. Some options are going to appear and you can see this start to take place. Let's set our bend to be 33. Our horizontal distortion can be -23, and our vertical distortion can be 5. This is the kind of thing you simply play around with depending on what you want to get from it. Once you get what you like, you can say OK, and that'll commit to that transformation. Let's apply these transformations to the other text layers as well. So let's choose the Type Effects layer. Again, you can go to Type and choose Warp Text. Choose a style that you like. It doesn't have to be the same one, but when you do choose it, play around with the effect that you've got, the horizontal and vertical distortion. What I try to look for is to making sure as long as it's readable, it's okay. Once you get something that you like, simply say OK to it. Let's do the same thing for web type now. Choose the web type text layer. If you've got your type tool selected, another place you can go to open your warp options is this button right here. With the type selected up here, so highlight it, choose type, and now I can warp the text that I've got selected. And again, choosing a different one will give you some different results. Let's do fish this time. Again, playing around with the effects. But once you get something that you like, simply say OK. Because it's highlighted, you can hit check, and that gives you that effect. At this time, if you need to, use your Move tool to move it down into place so that it looks nice and even. Let's zoom out so we can see everything. Go up to View and Fit to Screen. Let's drag on some more guides as well too. Again, clicking on the vertical guide to the left and dragging out. Let's go all the way over till it's about 1/4 of an inch from this edge, so 8.25. If you hold the Shift key, it'll snap into place, and you can let go of your mouse and it locks in nicely. Let's also click on the top horizontal and drag down to be about 2 inches from the top. Again, holding the Shift key makes it a little bit easier to place those. This will give us a nice area to align our paragraph text. To find the paragraph text that we want to work in, select your Move tool, and notice at the very bottom near her shoulder, there's a little sticky note. If you click on the sticky note, or actually if you double click on it, excuse me, this is going to open up your Notes panel. This Notes panel comes in handy for being able to add reviews, notes, anything that you want to share with anybody who else is also working on this document. In this case, if we click on the bottom and open it up, here's all of the text that we want to add to this area. So with it highlighted, we can go up to Edit and Copy. This will copy the text. Now we can close out our Notes panel, grab your horizontal type tool, and this time we're going to click at this top corner and drag downward to the left. So click and drag, and this will start to create a bounding box. We want to create one that's about 4 inches wide and 6 inches tall. And again, if it's off by a little bit, that's okay. So right about there is good. Notice now, because we created a text box, this is going to give us a paragraph area to place things into. Go up to Edit and Paste, and that pastes the text into there. Now, we remembered the same settings that we had for the last time we used the type. So let's highlight these first 3 lines. Let's open up our character panel, or you can go up here at the top. I want to be able to see it, so I'm going to zoom in. There we go. The font that we want is still going to be Myriad Pro. The style is going to be regular. The size of this is going to be 70 point. The font leading, or the amount of space between it, is going to be 55 points. That's going to bring it a little closer together. The tracking on this, we're going to spread it out to be 50. And the color of it is going to be white. When we let go, that's what it should look like. Finally, to make the word trend stand out, I'm going to triple or double click on just the word trend. Let's go over here and let's make that bold. Now it's really standing out. Let's highlight the rest of the text down here at the bottom. And again, I'm going to bring it up so we can see it as we work through it. Again, it's going to be Myriad Pro, regular. The size of this text is going to be 22 point, with a leading of 28 point. There we go. The tracking on this will be set back to 0. Whoops, there we go, 0 for that. And let's make sure it's not all caps, so we'll keep it upper and lowercase. When we deselect it, everything looks nice, but let's make sure these headlines stand out a little bit more. So with the headline for What's Hot selected, let's set that style to be bold and to be 28 point. We'll hit return. Let's do What's Not. Again, set the style to be bold, and the size of that will be 28 points, and hit return to lock that in. The final thing we can do to this text is to highlight the word trend and let it stand out by changing its color. With it selected, you can change the color here. The book tells you to set the RGB value, so we'll go down to this and set the R value of 0, the green value of 174, and a blue value of 239. And say OK to that. Now it's a different highlight of blue. We can hit the check to commit to any changes. I'm going to hit Command and 0 to center this out and see what this looks like. If you want to turn off your guides, you can go up to View, down to Extras, and to hide the extras, and that will turn off your little guidelines. I do want to turn it back on so I can see it. Now it looks good. Let's get rid of the note by choosing your Move tool and clicking on the note. You can actually right-click or control-click on it and choose Delete Note. And it'll go away and we'll say yes to that. There we go. If we haven't done so already, let's go up to File and let's save this Photoshop document. But in order to use this, we also need to save this as a JPEG. So the last thing we want to do is to go to File and down to Export and choose Export As. This will bring up a dialog box that lets you change it to a variety of different formats. Choose JPEG as your format. You can keep all the settings exactly the same, although I do like to keep my quality as high as possible. From here, choose Export. It'll ask you to give it a name, and do be aware of where it's saving to. So in my case, I'm going to choose my Lesson 7 folder to make sure it's saved into here. From here, we'll rename it 07 Upload, and we'll put my name on it as well. When you click Save, this will save it as a JPEG, and this JPEG is what you're going to upload to the class page once you're finished.